Hey, Braxton.
God damn it.
Hey, Braxton.
Hey, Ryan. How's it going?
I gotta point something out, man.
Don't do it.
You look like you've been through the ringer this week.
I have been through the ringer this week, man. But is that a secret that the world needs to know? I don't even know what to do with this water.
I don't mean that as a slight to your appearance. I think you look pretty good today. You cleaned up.
I look terrible. Yeah, maybe. I've had a skin issue plaguing me, and it's kind of going away now.
That's progress.
Not connected at all to any stories in this book at all. Don't worry about that.
But look at your video listeners. Check out Braxton's background. It's new and improved.
Wow, new and improved for you maybe, but for me it's old and familiar because this is my rent house while I'm in between moving places before I go back to where that guy lives over there.
How many hours did you drive?
I left Chicago. It was 19.
Oh my God.
I went from Chicago, Illinois to Springfield, Missouri, slept there. That was like 8 hours.
So you just found like a random hotel and then went in?
It was a hotel that my brother had gone to before, and he had a restaurant he wanted me to go to. But because I'm dumb and got my rental car scheduled to be picked up at 12, there was no way in hell I was going to get to that hotel, to a restaurant in time to do things. It's my fault. I'm not the best planner, but I know how long it takes me to do shit, and I unpacked an entire apartment, took apart a desk, packed up my monitors, all of my tech. If you've seen my stuff here, which you probably haven't, there's a lot of crap. And I did it in the perfect amount of time.
It's not even that you did it in a perfect amount of time. I saw this guy dropped by. We hung out with him for like an hour or so when he came through on his way down south. And he fit all of his stuff in like a little minivan SUV kind of thing.
Yeah.
Insane. I was expecting you to have like a U-Haul or some trailer.
That shit was so expensive for the U-Haul. One way dropping it off was like nearly $1,000 to $2,000.
Just drive it all the way down and then all the way back up and then take a flight down.
Why would I ever do that?
It's probably, you think it's cheaper?
Maybe. I don't know. But I wouldn't put my shit on a plane, man. Not cheaper on the soul. But I managed to pack everything except for my regular desk chair, which you could probably see I'm a little bit shorter right now. I'm in a very comfortable leather chair that holds me and hugs my butt. It's a good time. But after I met Ryan, Kenneth, and Jamie from the Dungeon Chronicles, shout out to our actual play podcast.
Name drop.
Go check that out. I saw them, and I'm very allergic to Denton, the place that I want to live. So I was there for 45 minutes, and Ryan, I shit you not, I didn't tell you guys the gravity of it, but I texted and mentioned I had to stop at a gas station and flush my eyes out. And the rest of the drive, I had breathing problems.
And you're leaving pristine Chicago where you have no problems with any weather. And you're coming down here where you're here for 45 minutes and you want to die.
Yeah, I just have to go to an allergist. There's shots you can get. It's a form of steroids, so I'll be doping. Oh boy, I'm just kidding.
You'll be ripped.
It's a different thing. I will be ripped if I start working out. But that's 19 hours of driving that I did. It has warped my sense of events that has gone through these past few weeks. I feel like I haven't done anything except for drive for like 3 weeks. I slept the day I finished driving. When I finally got here, when I laid down, I had this sense of vertigo that I was still moving forward in a car.
Scary.
And it was the weirdest thing. But I'm good now.
That's kind of like if you're on a ship. It's, the ship legs or whatever the hell they're called. Jelly legs.
Sea legs, and you're just like, oh boy.
So DMs out there, if you're doing a sea adventure, make sure you include that. Your party gets off.
DMs out there, if you've got a card adventure, same thing.
Yeah.
19-hour car drive. People did that. Probably more frequent stops.
Well, now you have a frame of reference for when you guys spend a whole day traveling. And in D&D, now you know what it feels like. And think about doing that for like a whole week just to get from one town to the next.
To be fair, it went by pretty quickly, so I guess it just depends on what happens, but it was literally nothing.
You had a few random encounters. You talked about you had some crazy weather.
Oh my God.
You had to stop off with us. You stopped at a gas. I mean, there's a couple of random, no goblins, unfortunately, but.
Unfortunately.
No,
that is interesting of note, though, is that travel that you go through in D&D happens in a second, and you're like, players, all right, we jump off, we get to our mission. No. If I was in the D&D world, I'd be a wimp. I'm like, guys, that cart ride was just awful. Oh my gosh.
And then wait till you hit like 15th level and the druid has can move through trees and you guys can teleport on teleportation circles and boom, no more problems with travel.
our party's not too far off level 10. That's
or
not
you get that warlock ability that allows you to just jump into any random lake within like 5 miles of you or something.
Oh, wait, that's a subclass though.
Yeah.
I don't have that. I can't get that.
I know, but you could get it in real life.
I wish. There's not a lot of water space.
That ability kind of sucks.
Interesting. It depends on the campaign.
True.
But you know what doesn't suck? This podcast where you're Ryan.
Shit, yeah, that's Braxton.
His confidence in pointing is not all there. This is the Dungeon Crawl, and today we're going to be finishing up following our conversation on Candlekeep Mysteries. We did the first intro to Candlekeep and 8 mysteries that were there. Mysteries, they're just quests, basically.
Yeah, no, there's not too many mysteries. There's a couple.
Not too many mysteries. Yeah, I'd say there's almost 1 or 2 true mysteries, and there's one in the beginning.
The trend kind of continues for the rest of this, as well as couple
does.
Mysteries, some really cool ones, and there's others that there's not really a mystery to.
Yeah, I talked to you after we'd finished this originally, and I was really saddened to find your reaction to me saying, "Oh, I haven't started yet," and you go, "Oh, I've read like the first few," and I go, "How are they?" And you go, "Eh." And I was just like, I gotta read this. Get me hyped about it.
My favorite ones of this adventure, of this set, are near the end. The first couple are pretty standard for me personally.
I think I'll remember as we come across my notes. I have them more structured this time, and they are not in handwriting. But they're a lot more brief because as we kept going on, the structuring of quests is very similar when you start reading this sort of book. And I think that's going to be one of our biggest gripes is the formatting and the exposition is...
Yeah, my biggest gripe with this, and I made a note of it on my notes, and I'm gonna make a note of it on the podcast. Unless I mention it, the plot hook is the exact same for every adventure, which is you have to find the book by searching in the library for X, Y, or Z. Unless I mention that it's not that, then just be aware that that is how you start this adventure.
Yes, we'll probably avoid that. And some of them that don't even do that, I think it's one of the very last ones. You just come back and they're like, "I'm an expert on this thing. I want to talk to you about it."
I mean, that's like leagues better than everything else that's been.
That's
in this
true,
book.
I guess. I mean, I constantly compared this to basically like a few of them, at least, like Daedric quests in Skyrim, because you find those and it's like a piece of candy, and I want to know the whole time, is it like a piece of candy after a piece of candy, and I get a reward? Like, awesome. Some of them aren't like that, so you just want to. You want to dive into it already? Just go straight away?
There's a couple of these, speaking more generally, there's a couple of these in this next section that the plot hook, if you can call it that, is so specific to a certain thing that your players would look for that I would say the players have to know that you want to run this adventure, have to look for it unless you completely change and take out the starting the adventure process, because it is so stupid that this is how they decided. I can almost see the writing room where some guy was like, "Hey, this is kind of a cool concept where someone finds a book and then a quest is tied to that book," and no one's like, "Yeah, that's awesome. Let's just make that the theme for this book." But then it completely erases the fact that they said this is going to be an easily one-shot, drop it into your adventure kind of campaign, and it's most of these, it's really not. You got to be near a library. You have to be near a big library. You have to hope your players are looking for these specific informations, and it to satisfy all those criteria, if you're doing it as written, it will very likely not happen.
What I'd probably do with this is just take these books that can be found anywhere in the world, honestly.
Yeah.
And if my players go to a library and they search on one of these things, I'm not going to tell them in my session 0 that I want to run Candlekeep. I'm just going to have these in the back of my hand. And if there's a session I didn't prep too much for, I'll try to push them to a library, because you can pretty much pick up most of these mysteries and just run them right in front of your face.
I mean, you can.
So that's how I do it.
I'm with you there. What I would change for, I probably would completely rewrite the plot hooks for all of these and just have someone come up to the party. Unless the plot hook is like you find the book and it, you can find it anywhere, and you open the book and it teleports you somewhere, which is also a trend that continues with this next half, is that there are a lot of portals inside of books.
I mean, and starting off with our first one today, the Lore of Laureu, I guess. I was right away just kind of annoyed already at the pocket dimension thing. It seems to be very common. And what I'm going to say is I don't know if they had a table on like Google Docs or something with all the freelancers so they could see what they were doing, how the book interacted, and try not to duplicate stuff too much. I don't think they did that.
No.
I don't think they
I
did
think they
that,
hired everybody and then
just said, here's your level.
Yeah.
Maybe a theme that they wanted them to go for, but probably not, and then just jumped into it. So the Lore of Laureu, I think is how it's stated.
Mm-hmm. It's written by Kelly Lynn D'Angelo, who, from what I saw in my looking around at her profile and biography, she's worked on a lot of different stuff, mainly theater. She has written a couple of musical theater scripts, playwrights, and has worked on the Count of Monte Cristo musical and a musical called Starry.
So that makes a lot of sense.
It's pretty cool.
That makes a lot of sense, being somebody who studied theater for their college degree. This is structured very much like a play.
Okay. Well, there you go. Like a fairy tale kind of play.
Yes. And what I'm going to say about that is a play has one way to go about it. For the most part, playwrights, directors, yes, you can put your touch on things. DMs, same thing. But for this, it's got a straight plot and it's pretty damn railroady, which is something I didn't like. There's basically like one ending in it that you can't adjust. It literally says there's one ending in this, whether you do X or Y. And I was just like, what? So what's it about, Ryan?
What's it about? Well, you find this book, you find the Lore of Laureu from, I don't know, there's a couple options. It's not a terrible plot hook from some of the other ones we've read. I mean, some of the other ones, literally we are just like a small little paragraph that says you find it by looking for these specific things. This one, you can find it by looking for, Faerun and whatnot, the history around Faerun. But you can also have a scholar that has it nearby, or someone's, putting away books and asks for help, and you just so happen to see this book, and you're very attracted and interested in this novel. It looks fascinating.
It's so purple. It's pretty. It's literally what they say.
Yeah.
No matter where the players are looking, if they will see this book. Is basically what it says.
Yeah.
Is how this starts. Oh boy, what was that?
Oh my god!
Destruction in House Ryan.
the Keyblade, Sora's Keyblade, just fell off the wall.
That's a sign.
That's terrifying.
Of what? I don't know.
I will clean that up later. But for right now, continuing on the Lore of Laureu, a quick little summary of it is basically the players find this book, they open it up, and they teleport themselves, or they get teleported inside the book. And it's very much like a fairy tale adventure.
It's like a Feywild demiplane.
Yeah, it's very Feywild-esque. I got that appearance right away. There's satyrs in there. There's some elvish creatures, lots of werebores and whatnot. And then eventually, it's pretty linear of an adventure. I guess the only mystery of this is you got teleported to a random place. You don't know really what's going on.
You can't get out unless you do X or Y.
Yeah, and you're trying to piece things together. If you die inside the book,
you die in real life.
No.
I like this.
It's interesting. I don't like this.
I figured you'd say that.
The reason why, so for those that haven't read it yet or don't really understand what we're talking about, if you die in the book, in the fantasy realm of this place, then you get teleported back out, and you're at very low health, and you can jump back into the adventure, but you're at the last encounter that the party finished. The reason why I don't like this is because they make it it separates the party quite a lot. If you jump back in, right, let's say you die in an encounter and then you jump back in, hey, I want to go join back with my party so they can heal me back up. You're at the last encounter.
You're understanding it incorrectly.
Am I?
Yes. So
is that what it says?
The wording is terrible. Just do Control F encounter, and it's the first thing that pops up.
All right. Let's look at it.
The returning character appears back with the party in the encounter that follows, meaning the latter encounter, the one that comes next. So whenever they get to the next encounter, then they come in. So if they just met the satyrs and then somebody dies during the satyr thing, and then they get to the treant, then that's your next point that you can join in at.
See, I still don't. I'd rather be I like that better.
They just come in.
They just come. Yeah, they come back to the party. Why
Basically,
not do that?
Think it of as I've been playing some Monster Hunter Rise lately. Think of it as getting carted. Yeah. So you die during the monster fight. Your friends keep fighting the Rathlos or the Rathian, and they're still going. Later. You know, that thing's losing health. Time is going by. You're twiddling your thumbs, and you got to run back. And you finally get there, and the monster's already dead, and the quest ends. And then you go join them on the next hunt. That's what it's like.
I guess why they did it this way is because if you join right back into the fight, then it just can unbalance it, and someone dies and immediately rejoins it.
Yeah. They wanted to have some sort of thing. And another point I wanted to address is while I was reading it, how everybody joins in on this is they basically forcibly within a 10-foot radius get teleported into this.
Sucked in.
I'm like, okay, they'd better say people who weren't within 10 feet of this book can come. And thankfully they said the portal is open only for the characters. Plot hole, I guess. I don't know. And they can come in and figure that out.
Yeah,
so you're not shunted.
Nearby, I guess they don't get sucked in.
Yeah, they just can't because your party has a metaphysical imprint on the world and it only works for them, I guess. So they address that again here with the character dying. I like it because I want to explore this mechanic more possibly in D&D, like the video game style of death and returning, in a really punishing, I guess, one shot at some point in time. This inspired me to think about alternate forms of punishment for dying and continuing a quest.
Maybe you die, but time has passed, and so the effects of your death are
like a fancy mega dungeon with this mechanic or something. You know, it could be interesting. But I said I loved the mechanic. It's like carting in Monster Hunter. I don't think it's executed well to the points that you've made. There's something else that kind of bothered me. The very beginning of this, and we're jumping around a little bit, but the satyrs, I believe, that begin.
3 of them.
I think this is who does it, but originally they speak in the Fey language, right?
Yeah, they start speaking in Sylvan first.
They start speaking in Sylvan, and then laugh when they realize that you can't speak Sylvan and speak Elvish. And I'm like, okay, while small, however small the chance is that somebody in the party can't speak Elvish, it's still a chance. So in the case that you've got no spells that can do that, and you're a lazy DM and you ran this, and you're like, heck, shit. Nobody, what do you, like, these are the sorts of things that I look for polish-wise to make sure that a thing can happen through stories. So that was a little bit...
say it, but satyrs do speak common, so I guess you could say, I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to laugh a third time or second time and then speak it in common.
These guys are laughing in so many languages they can't even keep up. I said as well, just a couple of other notes on this, that there's some nice encounters on the random encounter table that they've got. I love
the wolf one. The wolf random encounter is very cool.
Yeah, I love those. Of course, that's 17 to 20. And I think they're all valued for 3. So each of them are, oh no, the first one's 1 to 5 for no encounter, 6 to 7. So the rates are a bit different for each of them. But they're really cool. And I thought as well that there was some room to approach encounters in plenty of different ways. You really weren't forced to kill everything. You're not forced to talk your way out of everything. But ultimately, it's a really straightforward adventure with really nothing of note.
It's like a fairy tale, very much.
Yeah. And this is like an easy peasy journey that is easy and done, whatever, you finish it. But like, there's nothing that my character, other than being literally trapped there, would give 2 hoots about.
Yeah, I could see this you could add this into like a Feywild adventure. If your party's in the Feywild, then this could start happening. I like that Malar is used in here. I think Malar is a very cool and interesting, I think it's like a god or something. Malar has been used in other D&D products, and I like the strange motives that come around with Malar, and if your players don't know what Malar is, that can be very engaging, I guess, in that sense. I wish the final boss, and we didn't really cover what happens at the end, but it goes through and you eventually fight this big boss, and then you kill it, and then you teleport back out, game over. I think the avatar of Malar is an interesting creature. I think it's cool that it can kind of turn people into wolves. Especially, I thought about it, I was like, oh, that could be tough. But then I remember that a wolf has like 10 health points or something. So it's very easy to then get teleported back, to get unpolymorphed. Just something to add to the frustration of, fighting this boss and going about it. But I don't like the ending of it. I don't like how this, it just kind of ends. I guess it makes sense that it has to end in some manner. They have to wrap it up. but it ends the same way as Braxton said. What's the god's name? Saloon, or is it
It's not Saloon. There's a misconception that it is Saloon, so you fell prey to
Sune?
that. Something like that.
I don't know. Whatever. Like yeah. Okay. It says speculates, right? Speculates that the divine adventure is a courtesy of Saloon. Regardless, some divine intervention steps in, even if the players are dying. If they're about to die, then this god comes in and saves the day. And that just seems...
What do we even need to be there for?
I know, it seems so lame.
Like, I don't know. So that's the kind of like that I was feeling when I finished reading it, you know?
I guess it would feel cool in the moment, like, oh my god, we're about to die, and then craziness happens, but it's like... I'd rather my players got the enjoyment. Maybe what I would do, instead of it ending right there, the god just injured the creature or something, and then made the playing feel a little more easily managed.
Yeah. You can get a Ring of Shooting Stars.
Yeah, we've really talked about the magic items in this book, but some of them are really powerful, especially some of the ones that come later.
Yes. I'm excited about that one.
Oh, no.
I'm excited about that one. All right. I mean, that's Lore of Laureu. You fight a corrupt version of an avatar of Laureu affected by Malar. And there you go. You get out of there, you pop out, boom, bang, bomb, go next book.
Yeah, it's nothing special.
Sorry, you know what is special though.
This next one, you like this next one?
I love this next one.
Candlekeep Deconstruction.
Can you tell me what's different about the spelling of that?
Yeah, it's crazy. There's a K. There's a couple Ks.
There's a couple Ks.
Yeah, it's cute. It's fun. It's written by Amy Vorpal, who is an actress and a writer.
Last name.
And she's a part of a actual play group that doesn't just do D&D. They have some Call of Cthulhu stuff as well. It's called Saving Throw. So check them out.
Oh, I have heard of that one actually. Wow. Okay. Cool beans. So Candlekeep Deconstruction basically is about a dwarf dude who found out what another dwarf dude was going to do and is following up on his shit to shoot one of the towers, one of the buildings in Candlekeep into space.
Why? Just because he can, pretty much.
Literally just because he can. But this whole thing is so crazy.
It reminds me of like a Warcraft character. It's ridiculous.
It's just so fun. It's I think that it is like the antithesis to the previous one in every single way. Yeah. It uses Candlekeep, something that this book establishes already. Great. Thank you. In a really fun way. There's characters you've already met. You already know. Shit goes wild. You basically have to deal with it, or it's in your face and bad stuff's gonna happen. I just was laughing through it. It felt like a quest from like Fable 2 or something.
Yeah. I can see it because it has that little whimsical part.
Yeah.
There's no crazy stakes. Sure, a tower can go up in the air, but no one's gonna get murdered. No one's getting killed. No kings are on the line. No kidnappers. It's just they're flying away, and you don't want that to happen because Candlekeep doesn't want that to happen.
Yeah, I get it, but that kind of quirky stuff is what gets me excited.
That's what I'm saying. It's a whimsical fun to it. There's nothing crazy on the line. It's just, okay, we want to stop this guy. And the more you learn about what's going on, the more ridiculous it gets too.
Sorry, I need to tell you the name of the main dwarf dude, right? Where's his stuff? Stonky. You are trying to thwart Stonky's rocket. What?
At the barn door as well.
At the barn door. Also, the guy who wrote Candlekeep Deconstruction literally hates C's pronounced with a hard sound that he replaces all of it anywhere you can with a K. Like just these little fun, quirky things.
Bronze stern metal?
Yeah. It's so...
This is my favorite thus far of all adventures we've covered. This is my favorite adventure start. My favorite plot hook. Because the players are just chilling, and then they get bumped into by this dwarf guy. He drops the book, and then he dies. And that's like, oh my god! It puts the agency right into their hands. Like, wait, what just happened?
Exactly. So like, that's what I love this one more about, more so than the previous, because it was just like you find a pretty book and it gives you a suck. This one's like a guy dies in front of you and drops a book.
And this does have some mystery to it, I would say.
There's a little bit.
Yeah, it progresses starting from this. You find the book, then you read through the book. You kind of start piecing it together. Then there's an earthquake. What's the earthquake? You come outside and you see shit's going down. It's very cool.
You get access to previously like sacred parts of Candlekeep or places that you probably wouldn't have been able to go.
Yeah, the restricted section.
Like, oh yeah, I want to go.
Yeah, the restricted section of a library with like endless rooms. What's back
no
there?
library card can grant that to you. So that earthquake happens, and then you go to investigate.
Wait, can I say really fast before you go? Before you go ahead,
you have to do it fast.
I super appreciate that because this guy dies, right? And you have some players have the ability to speak with dead things, and this book, this adventure makes a point to say what he would know if the players cast Speak with Dead on it. Because I can see DMs out there right now who, when this happens, they're like, I have no idea what he knows. Oh my god, oh my god. And then they can scroll down a little bit. Oh, there it is. I now know everything that he knows if they were to cast Speak with Dead on this guy.
Yeah, if you got a Hexblade on your squad and they're like level 8 or some shit, they're going to be doing that all the time. Yeah, but and you said this adventure, so I know that's what you meant. A lot of them mention it. Mm-hmm. Speak with Dead. And it's like either they or Wizards of the Coast said you have to have a Speak with Dead clause at some point in your adventure.
Yeah, there's one later on that actually does a really good job of saying, like, if this character dies, then you can cast Speak with Dead and know all this information. And I love that.
Yeah, it's super cool. So you go to investigate the earthquake, right? And you come across Stonky's cult, the livestock.
You have an hour at this point, I believe.
Yeah. So time urgency, like this is going to happen. If you guys don't do it, we're losing some books.
Let's talk about time limits in D&D, right?
They're rough.
They're hard. You could do an hour out of game. Like you just put down like an hourglass on the table and you have this much time. And that can be super stressful, but it's also, this is a long adventure to do in 1 hour. So you can then just kind of just play it by ear. And that's, I guess, probably most people would do it. It's tough to really figure it out. So
something that got me too is there's another hour counter later on for the rocket itself being launched. Yes. And I was confused as to whether the hour starts immediately after the earthquake,
I think it does,
or if it's just the hour-long thing for the launch when that happens. So the timer starts on the earthquake.
And the problem is it says following the test, there's an automatic countdown. The characters have 1 hour, starting when the earthquake ends. And the problem that I would also say with the time limit is the players may not know that there's a time limit in play and how long. And that's a problem. If like a player, if they take a short rest, that's it. The adventure.
The book says that at one point as well, but it's in the actual tower.
The problem is if you do the short rest, the players they may not know. They're like, okay, we got a little bit of time. Let's take a quick short rest and keep moving. And then they take the short rest and near the end of it, they get launched into space. And you can continue the adventure. There's ways that the adventure can progress, but they now can no longer save the tower.
Yeah. But does that really matter when you've got alpaca macadamia nuts and chicken peach, the human cultist and rock gnome cultist?
Yeah, I think at this point, if that happens, this is just a fun. I think that's why there's no real stakes, because
it
can't just fuck off, and that's where you go from there.
Horse egg.
I almost want to see what would happen if this guy, if their cult gets into space. What's the next step, right?
Yeah, they don't actually say. They just say you get into space.
And it does say they eventually run out of food, and then they turn to start eating each other. That's all it really mentions about them.
And you can be there.
You can be there.
There is a teleportation circle scroll in
could be fun,
the tower.
Actually.
Could be fun. There's 3 endings to this, which I also liked. One where the tower doesn't go off and you save the day. One where the tower goes off, anybody in a certain area gets blown up because it's a rocket.
Right.
And you get into space, and what Ryan said happens. Or you redirect it after it launches and it lands in a remote area, which can be a fun start to another thing that you want to forcibly launch your players to. There's also a big explosion that happens too.
A planescape adventure through that. You're not going through space and going God knows where.
So even if there are also Stonky Nop Topper Spells Aplenty, that wizard spellbook, my lord, there's some stuff. It's got legend lore in there, and good item.
Now,
I liked it overall.
You might correct me here, Braxton, but if I didn't misread this, which is a possibility, there's a lot we had a lot of stuff to read, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't misread this, the only way to get in is to either have a really good lockpick skills. It was like 25 skill check, I think, or cast really knock. And I think that's it. Am I wrong?
Let's see.
Because I believe the only way in the entrance is blocked by an arcane lock, and you have to cast knock to get in.
Stonky's study.
Yeah, that is as well. That is as well.
Okay, library.
There's a lot of arcane locks in this area.
Safe, knock, or similar magic. Stonky's command center.
There could be a second way in, but I read it a couple times looking over it, and I didn't see a second entrance.
Into the barn door, you're saying?
Yes, just the ground floor.
There's nothing outwardly peculiar about the tower.
It says it's sealed with an arcane lock spell at the library. The password for which is Jeopardy. Sure. But you can only open it with a knock or not even a lock pick. So you have to break it down with strength checks. So it's just knock or strength. And I guess they're assuming at this level, which is what? It's a level 9? Yeah, 9 level. I guess they're assuming at least one character in the party has knock. But if you're all martial characters, you might not.
Realistically, who is going to prepare or have knock?
Right. I guess they're assuming you either have knock or you got someone that's really buff that can bust through a door. 30 is really high.
That's very high.
And you mentioned there's another section that's also requires knock.
There are 6 sections where knock is mentioned.
It's
5.
I do not like it seems like an over-reliance on this arcane lock. And I understand arcane locks are a thing, especially in a place like Candlekeep. But it's just not fun adventure-wise. Think about all the times you're playing Fallout, right? And you can't get inside a door that's locked. You can't find a place that has a hacking thing. The only way is to lockpick the door, and you don't have the high enough ability to lockpick the door. So now you know there's a door there you can't get behind, and it's so frustrating. You just got to leave it there. You can't come back for it later. In Fallout you can, but in this adventure
and then a rocket goes off, and you're like, wow. Yeah. Damn, that's
granted. I guess with Stonky, I think he has a key, or maybe you can learn the passcode from somebody. Maybe I don't know, but
the problem is Stonky's key is also behind a door that needs a knock spell or similar magic or strong boy to get behind it. So, so there's issues here. I think the writer wanted to have a consistent and logical. Of course, these guys are going to block everything off and lock it down. It makes sense, but we're playing a game. You gotta let your players do stuff. But that's the up and down of this one.
Yeah.
Whether it goes up or down is up to you.
The creatures are cool. The little fun little clockwork kind of creatures, mechanical things.
Yeah, hold on. And they can birth stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they got the skitter widgets and then the kitty widgets. And
you can get a ring that controls them, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, the control ring. Kind of like the dwarves from Skyrim.
Nice.
Every time I mention that, you guys should just tweet at us and say stop. I don't know. But next up, we got Zikron's Zephyrian Tome, which I think I overall liked this one.
Yeah, we've talked about this author before, so you should be familiar with Tamor Redman. He's just a game designer at D&D. He's done stuff that we've covered on his Unearthed Arcana.
So
plot hook sucks. I'm just saying it.
It does suck.
Calling it a plot hook is generous.
It is not a plot hook. It is literally a thing that you can or maybe won't do. I said I don't like the plot hook, but I love the mechanic that it addresses Candlekeep and one of its ironclad rules that you cannot leave with books, right?
Oh, I'm saying just the finding the book.
Yeah,
that is it. You find the book by researching 3 things, and that's the end of how this adventure starts.
Again, I'm approaching this from this is not an adventure you buy to do. This is an adventure you buy to supplement all of your games.
Yeah.
So think about it that way. I don't care about plot hooks. They should have better ones, yes, but I just gave up thinking that they're going to have.
Yeah, I know. I said I wasn't going to mention, but this one is just a joke.
Yeah. So Zikron's Zephyrian Tome basically is this guy was an author who was well known for being studied on the planes and whatnot, stuff like that, right? So it has a massive lock, of which all of the Avowed who have tried to open it have not been able to and have lost interest. These guys have no attention span. They have a lot of books to go read, I guess. So,
understandable.
Is there a way for the players to know that the only way to open this is to leave Candlekeep with it? I'm looking, and I don't think there's a way.
I think that, I mean, you can talk to an Avowed, but they're like,
you can talk to Avowed, and they're like, yeah, sure, you can do it, but it also rides on you telling them that you need to leave with it. And they're like, yeah, sure, as long as you bring it back.
Maybe it could be like, hey, you could go ask Joe. He lives in the city down below.
You got a locksmith outside. I don't know. Or maybe you got a thief character that prides themselves on being able to pick any lock, and they can't pick this one. Like, I have to take it with me. And that happens. That's the only, like, that would happen in our group.
Or you leave it in your backpack by accident.
Whoops. Even though they've got security stuff for this. Little beep security guard thingies that, you walk through in a mall. So basically this thing is a genie lamp, if you can think about it that way. A wizard? I don't know what he is. Some Genasi dude wants to make a flying fortress. No, the Genasi guy trapped this genie in a book because he wanted to use his powers to create a flying fortress. The genie eventually got, a little against it and said no. So this Genasi trapped him in here. And whenever you finally open it, this genie basically says, if you can end my entrapment spell, kill the person who bound it to me, or get them to willingly release it, I will grant you one free casting of the wish spell. He's a genie, right? So cool.
10th level.
That can be fun. 10th level wish. Yes.
Don't mind if I do.
So that's the plot hook to do the thing.
Yes.
If your players could make use of a wish spell, which, my party definitely could.
I wish the
lots of
organization there was better. Other adventures break it down like, this is what the genie knows, bullet points. This is all just in like 3 paragraphs where you get all this information.
They should have mentioned the book, the fact that it can't be unlocked except for a certain way, how the players can guarantee find that out.
Yeah.
There's no like guarantee way to do this, which I guess like wasn't the goal of these quests. Like, you can miss these. I get it. That's realistic. But
it just reminds me a lot of old D&D adventures where it's just filled with text and you have to kind of decipher and figure out what they're saying.
Yeah. Thankfully, at this time, I had the patience to, slog through all of them. But as we get later, I was just like,
fuck it.
This isn't interesting enough. And it's, oh boy. I read through the important parts. But when they had massive exposition, I just skimmed through it.
Okay.
So for this thing, they send you on a trek to go to Zikrin's laboratory.
Yes.
Or Zikrin. And they're just like, you can do whatever you want. You're going along the Sword Coast. You have wyverns, hunt them, or any NPCs important to your campaign. That's how these authors have been tackling traveling. They don't want to force you to necessarily do things, I suppose. But you come across Zikrin's lab, which, surprise, he's not there. It's been flooded. Big sad. And
what is there? There's a bronze dragon.
There's a bronze dragon. Something I liked. Some sort of like low-level story. Not low-level, but like off-the-cuff storytelling. There's a couple of elves, I think, that drowned here. And if you investigate a little bit, you can see that they slept and, they succumbed to all the water here, telling you that A, this happened recently, and B, it's a sad little death thing that can happen during the party. Like, and I like that sort of storytelling. That's the things that make me enjoy stuff like this.
My problem, though, with the cave area is, as much as I love the descriptions and the little, lore and the history stuff that the user's talking about there, besides that, there's not much happening within this cave, and I would worry that players could be bored unless the DM is explaining a lot of this stuff well and interestingly.
And the dragon that you come across is, did they give a nature for him? The young bronze dragon, lawful good. So bronze dragons are lawful good.
Dragons are all good.
So he's got his treasure hoard, and of course, if you try to touch it without his wishes, you're gonna fight him. But
if someone sees dragons, more 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, we got to fight this thing. So I like that it's a bronze dragon, that it can go multiple ways. Yeah.
So you either fight it, kill it, peruse, and figure out where Zikrin actually is.
The genie can help persuade it as well.
Hell yeah, cool. And there's a lot of dragons that show up in this book later on. And I love reading their names because they're some of the most fun things to roleplay, I would imagine.
I mean, it's you got the dungeons and then you got the dragons. So the dragons
it's a part
gotta
of
be cool.
So my problems with this whole thing begins when you get to the Cloud Peaks, where Zephyr actually is. And my big problem is not the climb.
Yeah, the climb's kind of cool.
I like the climb.
Makes it feel like a journey.
Yeah, it's brutal, tough. You got winged kobolds that don't try to kill you, but rip your clothes so you freeze to death.
The only thing I don't like is that the winged kobolds come back twice, day 2 and day 3. I'd only bring them back on day 3 if you didn't kill them all. I like that it does say that there's more, but it just seems so silly to have. There's so many other options you could pull from on day 3.
That is my issue with the entire part of this. Is you finish the trek and you get to where, Ryan? Where do you go next?
You go to Cloud Giant Keep.
Sorry, what? I'm sorry. Who's what?
Cloud Giants.
Do you know how many goddamn cloud giants are here?
It's a keep of cloud giants.
There's so many.
But they're all what?
Ghosts.
Undead.
But there's every room.
I think the way you're supposed to do it is only a couple of them, as far as I could tell, not all of them say that they fight. A lot of them are just kind of,
if you do thing or open X, yes. But there's so many.
I mean, this is their home, man.
It's just, as a DM, it kills me. But as a player who's gone through a couple of goblin phases of the beginning stages of D&D, I didn't, at some point I would have, but seeing 20 goblins throughout a goblin keep makes sense to me. But just for some reason, this supplement, Candlekeep, every time I read a new room, there's always a new fun creature that's there. But C4 mess hall, there are 3 cloud giants sit at one table. Kitchen, the cloud giant is in different.
But the mess hall is my favorite one.
Second floor bedroom, cloud giant.
They're playing a little game. They're playing cards. It's so cute.
I just got a little tired of reading.
And the players can look over it and watch them play it. And if they make a history check, they know how to play the game. I understand it. It's cute. It's very cute.
Fun stuff. There's also some nice items that you can find around, some jugs.
The reason why I like this is because it just seems so much larger than life. It's just this gigantic cloud keep or cloud giant keep, and it feels cool.
You know who else is larger than life?
What, Zephyrian?
Zephyrian himself, dude. He is fancy. And I love the art of this guy.
Looks like he just walked out of Shrek or something.
He's like water element Cartman, and I love it. And he's just sassy and wants a flying fortress and has an air cannon that he can shoot out.
Why wouldn't you want a flying fortress?
Why wouldn't you want a flying fortress? So when you get to this guy finally, after trekking through the waves and waves of cloud giants, you can either... give him what he wants and resolve it, let him have his castle and, betray the genie, basically. Or you can fight him and kill him and free the genie. So the genie, we can jump through the fight. Maybe we should talk about it itself. Do you have any comments on the mechanics of it? What he does?
He's an archmage with just an ability to conjure some elementals as well. Nothing too special of a fight. Personally.
It's just the best character art in the entire thing. This dude.
Yeah. You'd have to have some fun phrases prepared to toss out during the combat.
And his voice has to be perfect, man.
Very sassy.
Let's say you succeed you finish everything. How many times did you do something that it said, the genie, the whatever is called said he will remember that? How many times did you get good ones? How many times did you get bad ones? Because you're getting a wish spell. You're getting a wish spell. What's the problem with a wish spell, Ryan? Usually, it's at the DM's discretion.
They can twist it.
And they can twist it.
Especially with the genie.
But if you followed the correct paths and didn't piss off the genie ever, it says at some point, I think somewhere, that the genie may not twist the spell.
Well, if he's just an alternative.
There's an alternative.
Yeah, he says, how about use this spell instead? You
pretty much kind of confine him again to something and get to use him as a familiar.
Kind of.
And kind of weird to me, but you get a sensor of controlling air elementals.
Yeah.
Which allows you to, cast him. And after a year, of using him, you can then maybe use the wish spell.
Yeah, why not?
Cool. But Ryan, I want to ask you, if I treated this Jenny to the best of my white glove service, would you genuinely give me a consequence-free wish spell?
You treat him like an asshole?
If I tried to treat him nice, would you really give it to us?
Yeah, I mean, I'd again with the concept of the wish spell. If it's something easily manageable, yeah, why not? If it's the harder it gets, the obviously the more complicated it becomes.
Unless he was treated terribly by the characters, he is unlikely to twist the wording of the party's wish. So if I were a DM, I would, to the best of my ability, have Gaz Razam grant the wish.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'd have any twisting of the word. It's just, it may not be, the exact way just the way the wish happens.
Yeah.
It'll still happen.
There's not going to be any intentional genie antagonism.
Yes.
But he will grant your wish to what you say, I suppose, in this case. And if it's like, I wish to have all the money in the world, it's going to take all the money and send it to you, and you're probably going to be a criminal or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Something like that. So it's not him doing it. You just wished for that. All right. Cool. I just wanted to discuss that, see how rude you would be if we succeeded in being nice to him. But overall, I think the beginning's a little weak. There's some fun interactions in the Giants area and a fun antagonist, I suppose.
Typical kind of D&D adventure.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Some fun stuff, some cool characters, a dragon. What's not to like? All right. The Curious Tale of Wisteria Vale.
Ooh, by Kiana Shaw.
Kiana Shaw.
They're a D&D creator that's often on the DM's Guild. Most notably, a fantastic little adventure book called Darkhold: Secrets of the Zentaro. Very good. Recommend.
Mine's got the facts. So, finding the book in this one, we said we weren't going to talk about it too much.
Well, this one's got a plot hook.
It does. Give it to me.
They've been hired.
Yes.
On behalf
of why?
Well, behalf of the Harpers, which if you are not running within the Forgotten Realms, then I would recommend to make your own up, because the Harpers is a faction within the Forgotten Realms. But they are looking to find a cure. They're recommending to check out this book. They're giving you 5,000 gold pieces, which...
Big money.
I was about to say, by this level, you probably got a lot of money in your pockets. But hey,
we don't have anywhere near 5,000 gold.
Well, the problem is
level 10, Ryan.
The problem is, though, it gets divvied up. Because you guys have gotten some big gold prizes, but then it gets divvied up between everybody.
We still don't have 5,000 total. We do spend it, though. I'm just looking. Once we get a level 11, we better have a paycheck coming our way. All right. Okay. Moving forward.
But yeah, that's the plot. Someone actually has them to go look for this thing.
Yeah. So there's a bard that has been corrupted, and do they tell right away that this bard has been trapped in this book?
I don't believe so.
But that's the thing. That's just what has happened. This is a dimension this book turns out to be, to hold Quill, this legendary bard who became corrupted after a set of adventures that are depicted in this book itself. Mm-hmm. So the book is a 3-act play of how he fell from grace. Vargan. If
this is delivered poorly, then I think the players will be very bored, because this is just a big info dump stuff. So it's got to be delivered. It is just a big info dump.
Yeah. So get some music, turn down the lights or something, have some voices.
I'd almost say, because of the nature of Candlekeep and how this book is, laid out, I'd almost say you open it and you read. It's like a hologram, like it appears. You can see them
the players
acting
read it
out. Well, I know that's not fun. I'd say you could see it being acted out. It could be cool that way.
It could be cool. Or it's not cool.
It's just a lot to read.
It is rough. It's a lot to read. It's 3 chonky paragraphs.
Granted, you don't need this stuff for the adventure.
No, you really don't. It's one of those like Dark Souls sorts of things that you come across it, you don't. You do come across it, cool. Or if you're playing it on Twitch, people are going to tell you because there's cool lore and you got to go read it. It's that sort of thing. So I was along for the ride on this. I'm like, all right, that's okay. That's cool.
I can give a couple props to Kiana really quick before we jump ahead. That there's an adventure summary in here. I love when adventures have adventure summaries. It helps me visualize the process of this whole adventure.
Almost all of them do after this point.
Yes. The beginning ones did not.
Yeah. because they're so small.
Continue.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm along for the ride. Let's go to a demi-plane. Let's figure stuff out. Let's save this guy and get some massive bank. It started losing me a little bit until Beholder time.
I know, man. I'm in.
Baby, let's go.
am in.
I knew the second Ryan saw that. I was like, oh, boy.
It seems so random to toss it in there, but
Beholders.
I'm all for it.
Well, this Beholder was being harassed in wherever they are, the Shadowfell. What is it? Where is he located? Underdark.
He's in the Underdark.
Yeah. He's chilling. He's doing whatever, and he dreams himself going into Wisteria Vale
to avoid his enemies.
Now let's think about that. Wisteria Vale has a very specific purpose to house Quill until they can cure him. How does this Beholder know about this? Their dreams are just so random. So he gets here, and there's a bunch of villagers, but they're all mannequins enchanted to play out this town for Quill so that he's happy.
The Beholder thinks this is all for them.
Yes, that's what I was. Yeah. So he thinks this is his world because he dreamed it up. This is his place. So he ends up interacting with Quill and eventually duplicating him and trapping him.
Yeah, if we get the idea, the Beholder's been here for a little bit before we show up.
Yeah, for a long while. So you can run around and talk to some pretty interesting NPCs and characters and locations to go where you can gather various bits of information.
It almost gives me, if anybody's watched WandaVision, the new Marvel show, it almost gives me like kind of WandaVision vibes. With like this whole town's got some weird stuff going on underneath the surface.
Yeah, so some of that weird stuff is the Wisteria Vale events, and I was so hyped getting into them because it's titled in a thing called Aberrant Events that happen because of the Beholder's hold on this place, but it's some simple sound effects, color changes, and weather going on. If I ran this, I would make shit weird as fuck. Yeah. Or at least more fun. Aberrant events aren't just like rain falling from the sky.
Involved with anything, there's got to be some weird stuff going on.
Well, it's like when they wrote these aberrant events, I feel as though they wrote Wisteria Vale from the perspective of the players not knowing it's a demi-plane at first. Right. And then it got changed at some point, maybe, and the players knew the entire time, so that these Vale events, it's like, it's not going to do anything to the players.
Yeah, if you want some fun, random Beholder type event stuff, go to our Beholder episode where we talk all about the fun, juicy stuff that the Beholders can dream up.
That's a deep cut, man. It's been a while since
that is an old episode.
That's an old episode.
It's a good one, though. It's a good one.
It's so weird that we can say that now. It hasn't been that long. We haven't been doing it, but we got a catalog. We got a catalog at this point. So overall, the villagers are friendly to the people.
Almost feels like a Ravenloft light.
Yeah, it's super cool, and it I think kind of gets a little messy in the end. Like there's a party, but it's not like clear of when it's happening, but it just starts happening at some point.
Yeah, what's a party for? That's how you get to the manor. You're supposed to learn that there's a party going on to celebrate Quill or something, but really it's to celebrate. Oh no, it's the Quill is celebrating the Beholder, but the Quill that's celebrating the Beholder is the Beholder's Quill anyway.
Fake Quill.
So it's just a party for the Beholder for himself.
The Beholder's throwing himself a party. Yeah.
Which is very Beholder-like, right?
And it's interesting too because Beholders, if you read up on their lore, they're suspicious of everything, but because he thinks this is his dream, his world,
have fun with
he's
it, man.
like a Beholder in society. That is so cool. Like, ooh, that's a lot of fun. And then there's the
deeper this goes, the more the mystery gets. Like you learn that once you find out the Quill is not the Quill, and you learn there's a Beholder going on here. It just gets more and more juicy and interesting. The part where Braxton has mentioned it kind of starts throwing me off is when you get to the manor. There's all these different paintings that you can go through. Yeah. And the paintings are supposed to be like trips deeper into like the demi-plane. It's like a separate demi-plane where things are
like why?
It's where things are kept. And the Beholder keeps Quill back here, and Quill's kind of okay with it. He's back there just reading a book. But my problem with this is traveling from within the paintings is completely random. You roll like a d6 or something, and you can show up at a different painting. The frustration I could see with the players just trying to walk to different places and just they keep reappearing in the same areas, not knowing there are other places you can get to, would be ridiculous. I wish there was an easy way to maneuver around. Like you can just see in the distance a tree, and you walk to the tree, and boom, you're at the tree. Instead of I don't know.
Just get a Super Mario 64 speedrunner. You pop through all the paintings. But Ryan, I was
thinking like a Persona or a Harry Potter kind of thing where you're walking from painting to painting. I think that'd be really cool.
Super easy.
What's your question?
But I do have a question for you. So you've got a banquet in front of you, yeah?
Yes.
You got a banquet in front of you. I'm going to list out some food. I want you to tell me what you're most likely to go for, okay?
Okay.
You got some candied yams, cheese stuffed peppers, jerk frog legs, salted cockatrice eggs, sturge burgers, veggie kebabs, and, that's it. What would you go for?
I feel like I would probably go for the burgers, but when I thought about sturge burgers, that sounds disgusting. So I think the frog legs.
Okay, the frog legs. Well, that's good. You find out that if you try to jump, you get the benefit of a jump spell for an hour. For me, I was reading through and I was like, dude, cheese stuffed pepper sounds really good. And I kept reading and I went, I'm dead. Because you need to, and okay, this is level 11, but if you've got some glass cannon characters who don't have con and they eat these cheese stuffed peppers, they are dead instantly. If they fail a DC 15 save, you eat this, you instantly drop to 0 hit points, explode, and leave behind a mass of mess and blood and guts, and everything you were carrying and wearing is left behind, and you're just dead.
I love that it says instantly drop to 0 hit points and explode.
Oh, you
That's
okay?
Brutal.
It is brutal, but all right, it's fun. But it's gonna suck though. JD agrees.
Maybe you could watch someone else eat it and explode first.
Yeah, maybe there would have to be like a dirty mess of somebody on the table with like a half-eaten cheese pepper.
I'm checking here. This is level 11, right?
Yeah. 75. So I've got 100 something hit points, my character, and I am 4 Constitution, and I've rolled high on most of them.
Okay, I'm looking here, and it seems like the average HP at level 11 is anywhere between 68 and 102.
Okay, so there's like a 1/3 of the population or so, maybe a little more.
Yeah, there's
that
a chance
would instantly die.
Though, hopefully, if hopefully you got a high con. If you got that, actually, if you have a high con, you wouldn't have a low HP. So,
hopefully, I mean, you've gone into an extra dimensional painting to a banquet. Your DM is detailing the food on the table. You're gonna get an idea. I would hope that things could be bad. So maybe there's that.
Let me tell you my favorite part of this, though, Braxton.
All right, let's
my
do it.
favorite part of this adventure. Whenever you save Quill, you don't save Quill, he teleports. Who gives a shit about Quill, right? No matter this adventure, because the Beholder's not really a part of this adventure. He's just kind of there as added fluff. If you piss him off and you finish and you let Quill be uncorrupted and he thanks you and the book closes and everyone, the demi-plane's gone, the Beholder goes back to the Underdark and now hates you guys. And spends the rest of his time plotting on how to kill you and how to track you down. And boom, you got a whole new quest, whole new campaign on your hands.
Gotta admit that I love the ones in Candlekeep that end with some sort of thing going out and hating the players.
Yeah, continuation.
Coming back.
I just want more Beholder adventures.
I was not expecting it.
I got a quick thing to yell about, then we'll continue on. I saw a poll. It's like trying to find people's the best, most favorite D&D monster, and it's doing like one of those kind of like tournament things where 2 monsters go against each other, then one continues. And there was an Illithid versus an owlbear, and the owlbear won. And I wanted to pull my hair out.
I got it. I mean, meme culture. They like big fluffy things and owls, dude.
But what's exciting about an owl bear?
Nothing. That's the point. That's the point. You can make stuffed animals out of it. They can be cute, fun pets for the people. People, they don't like tentacle boys.
All right.
They just don't.
Let's move on to the adventure that I wrote the least about. The Book of Inner Alchemy.
That is so fucking hilarious that you say that.
Is it yours as well?
The one that I checked out the most from is this one. Why is there so much writing?
Well, I'll tell you why I wrote so little for this one. First, it's written by Daniel Kwan.
Thanks, Kwan.
He is a big part of the Asian Represents Table RPG podcast group. Does a lot of really cool stuff. I highly recommend you go check out Daniel Kwan. This adventure is, it's like, for me, it's like a cheesy kung fu movie at least by the end. It starts off kind of like this murder mystery plot going on, and then you walk up to this like
brutal cult, like killing people and training and feeding them to black puddings.
But then you get there, right? You get there and you walk up to like this house, this manor, and
you watch SpongeBob?
I have seen SpongeBob, yeah.
Do you remember the episode where like Sandy is in the Tower of Karate or some shit? And SpongeBob has to go through it.
It's like that. Yeah, you walk up to the manor and there's this guy on top of it. It's like, oh, no one's ever made it here before. You must be ready for some intense action. And then he jumps down and he tries to go to town with you, and that's the beginning of this combat. It's honestly, like cheesy kung fu. I love it.
I do love the end of it. There's a little too much like backstory for these guys to read. Like it's fun, but and it can come through. And the way you roleplay these characters and improve what you do, like we talked about. This could be a really
fun kind of RP, silly adventure like Candlekeep Deconstruction.
It doesn't start that way.
No.
It doesn't start that way. It's literally like these guys are cutthroat. They murder people. You have to
play it up with the camp and the cheesiness. And, I don't know how you do that with the beginning, but you gotta. So
basically, we can end it with what we've just said and the next description that I give. And it's this book defines the secrets of some sort of martial art thing, and it turns out it gives you an idea of how ki works and whatnot, and lets you create a really damn cool item that if you're a min-maxer, you probably have this on your list because, my God!
It's the item I was referring to earlier.
Yeah, so the gloves of soul catching, what do? Your constitution score is 20 while you wear these gloves.
It's pretty good. Would have helped out the character that died in the last adventure.
True. Cheese is no match for these gloves of soul catching. So you tell your DM at some point, I don't care when, I'm going to make my constitution 1 because I'm going to get these and I'm going to put my soul, my points and everything else. And that's the big thing about it is it guarantees you a 20 con. So it's not that great for a character that already has it, of course. But whenever you make a successful unarmed strike wearing them, you can use them to do an extra 2d10 force damage and regain hit points equal to the force damage dealt. Alternatively, instead of regaining hit points, this way you can choose to gain advantage on an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw.
Yeah, this is the monk magic item.
Pretty damn cool. So if you've got a monk in the campaign and you're like, I want to do something for them.
I think, not even just that item. This adventure seems like it'd be a blast for a monk backstory quest. Like,
oh my God.
Like their character is maybe been kidnapped by this dojo or, this cultist and there's stuff going down. And this is their arc. And this is how it ends with this adventure.
Yeah, take the book out of it if you want, or keep it in there, and just have Bak Mei have trained your monk character with his brutal ways and in their backstory. Yeah. And then you're like, guys, it's time. We're powerful enough. I need to tell you about Bak Mei. We have to go back.
I gotta tell you about Bak Mei.
Oh, it's great. And it's cool to see Asian representation in a tasteful way without it literally presenting the campiness to it, because I didn't read it that way.
Yeah, it's written by one of the guys that runs and Asians represent kind of podcasts, and I think that's good for because if anybody else had written this adventure, it could be a problem. But he obviously wrote it very tastefully and respectfully.
And the art for Steel Crane, Jade Tigress, and Bak Mei as well are really cool. And Bak Mei's art specifically, he's got like a face going on. And it's like, okay, that's the feel of this adventure.
My only problem with this is a fun adventure. We're kind of getting to it. That's why I didn't write much on it, because I thought it was just kind of a fun, cute adventure. My only problems with it was the creatures, the creatures, quote unquote, the Bak Mei, Jade Tigress, and what's the other guy's name?
Steel Crane.
Steel Crane and Jade Tigress are almost a carbon copy of each other. They have pretty much the same abilities and stuff. Bak Mei has them obviously with a couple extra stuff. I like his better. I want to see Jade Tigress and the other guy, Steel Crane, to have more variation. I understand they're trained by the same guy, but still, I think it would just be more fun to have different types of abilities.
Yeah. Just for an example, like Steel Crane and all of them have deflect missile, which is basically like a stereotypical martial art thing. So they're not going to be like insta dead if you've got a party of 5. I like that they built them that way.
They can heal themselves as well.
Yeah. All right. Onward.
Yes.
All right. So you jump over to the next one, which is the Canopic Being, and you're greeted with the sight of the coolest looking book in the entire thing.
Yeah, you think so?
It's one of them until you get later.
That's all right, I guess.
It's a glass encased tome. It is sick looking with like some emerald eyes on it. And I think the strongest, if forceful, pull for the adventure.
100%. I wrote right here in my notes, I love that this product has some give to it. It's about time there was a product that like punched like this.
So this book arrived 9 months ago in Candlekeep.
Mysteriously.
In a yellow cloth, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, there's a handwritten note that says, as fate wills it. Over time, maybe you find the book through whatever way that, you know, these people mention, but your players get the book, right? That's the ultimate thing. And they start reading it, and it depicts these grotesque ways to create like these golems or whatever, and a couple of other like dark rituals. And next about like being able to connect a mummy lord to a physical vessel by transplanting its organs into a humanoid. And there's a list of recipients of this ritual, which brings up a couple.
The sacrifices,
The sacrifices, one of which was the person who brought the book
the guy
and has visited Candlekeep. And the last few are your players.
What?
And then at that point, your players are like looking all over the body for scars and shit.
Now we're invested.
So it's forceful. It forces them to have to worry about this. Yes. But it's a literal pull. Like, you guys are connected to some mummy demon thing. You have an organ in your body, apparently. What do we do? Where do we go from here?
I didn't read it like that.
That's how I read it.
I read it as, because she's an oracle. I read it as she's planning.
But the players don't know that.
Yeah, well, you find it out later. I read it as that she put the names in there because she knows she's going to come across these players, and when she comes across them, she plans on killing them and sacrificing them.
That is literally what it is. But if I were to come across this and read that and see, like, Carrying, my player in your game would be like, when did that happen?
It just, I guess that's a good point. I didn't even consider that.
Yeah, so that like even more bowls me towards it, but I just like directly mentioning the players, having Candlekeep be a little bit more of a connection.
Reminds me of, there's a random encounter in Curse of Strahd where the players are walking around and they pass a crossing, and there the crossing is where people are hanged, and they see being hung there are themselves. They see themselves.
You do that to me.
I did, yeah. I only show, I would single out you guys to make it more interesting, but you see themselves hanging there for a brief second. They turn back and they're gone. Just a way to, include the players in the creepiness and the chaos that's going on.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of fun things that go on, and a lot of interesting role play that you as the DM can do. I like how
much information is given to the book here too, because
it's not too much.
Well, I appreciate it because I know if you have your book written in this tome, you're going to want to read it and understand it and dissect and go, okay, what's going on in this book? So it allows the DM to not have to pull things out of their ass.
Yeah. So
and
essentially,
it cuts out the fluff with a teleportation spell.
Yeah, it just says you guys get yoded on over there, because at this point, what level are you? 13?
Yeah.
Pretty strong. Pretty strong. You get yoded over there, and everybody is like pretty stereotypic cult. They're like, I don't know, dark sacrifices? Huh. Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
These guys aren't a part of it, right? These guys are like a part of a different organization, which this entity was a part of at one point, and they're kind of doing their own thing now. At
least until you get to, one last person.
Yeah, but these guys, from my understanding, are all right individuals. They seem a little creepy because they have like a big eye on their forehead when you first show up.
Yeah, and they're all wearing the same clothes, and this is the organization of the people who are planning to put an organ in you.
Is what it's called.
I don't know what's going on, but eventually it leads to like a penultimate fight with the Oracle herself, Valen. And she's got some cool stuff, man. And there's a lot of interesting encounters on the way where you see organs of people that have been replaced. They're in jars and stuff, very thematic for mummies and whatnot. And there's even 2 ways to revive people that you learn about, which is pretty interesting because it's maybe likely that your character's going to die here.
I wish there were more of these kind of deserty adventures. I love it. I'm hoping they're going to resurrect Dark Sun at some point. I think it's there's another kind of desert themed adventure later on in this, and I love this kind of imagery in this stuff.
I gotta ask though, Dark Sun, did that inspire some things in the campaign that you run for us?
I don't know. What do you mean?
All right, we'll see. What are you talking about? I don't know.
My problem with this though, getting to the adventure, okay, it all happens. You get teleported, but then you have to go to this shed, right? You got to go find this shed behind this main temple structure.
Right.
What if you don't find the shed? Nothing points you to the shed. It's just you got to explore, and I guess you find out by process of elimination. That's the only thing that you haven't gone to yet. You got to have, I would have something that points the players in this direction. Say, hey, Valen spends a lot of time over there. I haven't seen them in a little bit. Go check it out. I don't know. Maybe
that was something that was cut, given them the benefit of a doubt.
Oh, we haven't talked about that yet. Yeah, so I meant to mention this at the beginning. The adventure we both hated last episode. What's the name of it? Book of Cylinders.
Yes.
So I have apologies to say. We kind of shat all over it. Apparently, according to the author, Graham Barber, apparently a lot of it was cut out. He had a lot more words. You can think about it like the Justice League versus the Snyder Cut. There was apparently he had a huge bunch of words, and without even telling him, they just tossed it out. This happens a lot, supposedly, from what we've heard. So that's sad to hear, and it probably could have been a lot better.
There were some things poking out like a glacier in that could say this could have been a good adventure, and I hope one day we get to see it. But
yeah, we'll see the Graham cut.
Yeah. All right. So, what do you think about like if the players do manage to get to this shed and figure things out? The tomb itself.
I think it's cool.
You know,
I like it.
It is cool.
I like the Oracle stuff. It even says like the Oracle can predict things that are or foreshadow things that are going to happen in your campaign as a large. Like it can allude to the big bad later on, which can be a little nerve wracking. I would only toss this adventure in if I know for sure this is where we're heading. Yeah. Because then the Oracle might predict something that won't come true and the party won't care. There's a really cool, like the boss fight happens in a 0G environment, and that's kind of cool, I guess. I think it's interesting to think about how some certain spells would interact in a 0G gravity-free environment.
Yeah.
That's
like
weird
force
thing to
spells
think about.
too. Eldritch Blast, if you've got
force
Eldritch Blast, push them around. There's a couple of rooms as well, like the Mirrors of Fortune that I really liked. If you manage to do some insane dexterity saving and not touching one of these like funhouse mirrors where you'd take 4d10 psychic damage every time you touch it.
Well, even the option to that of there's a hidden mirror in one of them, and if you're with his assistant lady, she can help you through it, and you do it with advantage. Yeah, I love that those options are presented.
Absolutely. And if you get through, you, I believe, get a D8 that you can add to any roll.
If you get through unscathed, you get blessed. Yeah.
Which is really cool. And it's like, let's put a teleportation portal here and just, make our way through.
Just do it every time. Eventually you'll learn it.
Yeah. Cool. And the fight's fun. The golems that you can fight are what you will turn into. There are these like glass-ish stone whatever golems that had the organs put into them, the glass organs of this oracle, and you fight them, and it can be kind of sad if you've learned about some of them. You're like, oh, that's the guy we learned about. Big sad one cry. Well, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Val reminds me of like an anime boss care of Big Bad, because she's like, I've waited so long. Now we will see if you are ready. And then she goes to town. And if she dies, then you have to. If she dies, then you have to go find her heart and destroy that as well.
Get some cool items too, like a Staff of Fate, a Watchful Helm. Cool. Nice stuff.
I think what you should, if you take anything from this adventure, it should be the boss dialogue, because I love when bosses die and they say something as they're dying, and depending on what you've done, changes what she says, and it's. I think it just adds for some fun for the characters. Yeah.
And she's one of those entities that can come back, as you've learned about. Yeah. These organs can regrow her in a sense. So there's a couple ways to end it.
But if you have a party like mine, they're very thorough and go through every room, and we'll probably find what they're looking for to destroy her heart.
And if Ryan says you need to do a perception check on this thing or something, intelligence save, and we don't do it, we're gonna keep doing it until we figure it out. That's a problem in D&D, I suppose. All right, the Scrivener's Tale.
This one's got some cool stuff to it, but terrible beginning.
It tries to do what the other one did in the way that it affects the players.
Well, briefly. That's cool, but just the getting the book and it's. I wish.
Take us through it.
I wish there was for anyone who's watched or read the Harry Potter series. I'm gonna drop a spoiler here for the second book. If you haven't watched it, or
it's been enough time.
Yeah, it's been a while. So in the second book, in the second part of the series, Ginny, one of the characters, gets a spooky book from one of the other bad guys, and he gets it by he drops the books back into her pouch after he looked at them, and he just like drops it in with her. I think that would be fantastic for this. Have an acolyte bring a book and actually drop it in or something. And the acolyte's a bad character. Unfortunately, the acolyte that is introduced in this is not, and they do it unmaliciously. I wish it was. Like they did it on purpose. They wanted to have someone else suffer with this, but that's just me. Yeah. Maybe I like suffering.
It's my DM, everybody. I guess I'm your DM now too. Shout out to the Dungeon Chronicles.
I was watching something the other day, and I told my girlfriend about it. I was like, dude, this everything else about this I'm not really digging, but this one terrible event I love, and I want to include in my D&D. And she was like,
no,
oh no, what kind of person are you?
I gotta confide in her and learn about this sort of stuff. So, how does this book come to the people? This timid, I guess, a guy, I don't know, is like, hey, there's this sketchy book. Come look at it. And if anybody reads it,
it's in Sylvan,
or touches it,
you have to read it.
You read it, and from your fingertips,
marks all over you.
You get marks all over you. It's the script of the book and different boons and detriments.
I love these
come
effects.
With that. Boons, I put it lightly. Curses or drawbacks, I put it very strongly. These are rough.
Some of them, but I mean, it starts off cool and interesting. You can read and write Sylvan and everything, and then you can no longer cast a shadow. That's a little odd. And then you can cast the message cantrip. Cool.
What?
And then magic potions no longer affect you. And you might not even find that out unless you decide to drop a health potion in your mouth. Yeah, eventually it gets down to you becoming petrified. But this happens over the course of like every other day. I think it's every 2 days you have to make another charisma check or something.
You can be unpetrified, but the next dawn you'll go back to being glass statue.
Yeah, so there's some push. There's some, draw to want to do this.
Yeah. The mark can be removed by a wish spell though.
Yeah, so but, I mean, you're level 14 at this point? You're not having a wish spell.
Not quite yet. And there's some adventures later on.
Unless
that say,
you did the genie quest, and then boom, no adventure for this.
Done. Well, for one person at least, as long as not everybody read it. But basically, this is another kind of genie thing. There's an entity trapped in this book, and she wants out, but she's bad this time. She's evil. She's not nice. Who is it?
Scary.
What does she do?
Dude, I don't know her name. I don't care for her. I'll be honest.
Yeah, honestly,
she's it's kind of like some Feywild stuff again.
Yeah.
Because they are like, what's the word that they use? Like Prince of the Shadow Glass. That's what she does. And there's another like organization that she's like pretending to be or something. It's reminds me of some kind of Shadowfell or Feywild elvish guilds and courts and stuff like that. It's interesting plot-wise, interesting kind of lore-wise, but there's a lot of information to parse in this adventure. A lot. And if you are running it, you gotta make sure you have this stuff down. Because unlike some of the other ones where it's like, it doesn't not super applicable. The whole drive for why the character is doing this and why the book is here and why this ghost is trapping this person is because of all this extra information that the character's got to learn at some point. So it's a very complex adventure, a lot of moving parts, a lot of complex NPCs with motives and RP. Yeah. If it's done well, the payoff, I think, would be worth it. But if it's not, it can be a slog to get through.
One of the most important things to touch on is Evendra and Machil, or however you say, and their backstory, because they were hurt by this, and I really loved. It was short and sweet. This can be told to the players in the matter of like a minute, and it's effective. It's a sad backstory.
There's some really cool lore and RP moments in here, but it's got to be done well.
You want to know what my favorite and least favorite moments in this?
What's up?
What do you want to start with? Which one? Favorite or least favorite?
Let's start with your... No, start with your favorite.
Okay, my favorite. You ever had a dragon tax collector come to yeet you for your money?
I haven't, but I can imagine, except for this adventure.
Yeah. So that I was just like, a dragon comes to get money from you if you ever do anything bad in the previously mentioned character's mansion. It's just like, okay, all right, that's fun. And then...
Your least favorite?
My least favorite are Fomorians and long-lasting effects. Oh God!
There's what, 4 Fomorians in here?
Yeah, that's brutal, dude. Your party is gonna get some baggage on them, I must say, in this. If they aren't prepared.
I believe it says they don't have to fight them, right?
They don't.
Yeah,
they can't convince them.
It can end well, and I think actually that's how. Now that I think about it, in our game, you didn't end up fighting the Fomorians.
I think you
killed one of them, and then you talked to the other guy later and
convinced him that we didn't kill him. It was quite ironic, I suppose. Okay. They mentioned speak with the dead here as well. I don't know if this is the moment.
Yes, this is what I was talking about.
Yeah. So all in all, I enjoy it. You get to go to Baldur's Gate, which is fun.
Scary.
The Rillen house is pretty cool. Evandra Rillen, her story is fun. Her motives are great. You get to go down at the entrance to the Haven of the Red Quill, if that sounds fun to you. Cool stuff.
The final fight's cool.
The fight is really cool.
Especially with the complexity of having the marks probably on a couple of your players. Then there's some detriments they got to kind of balance and work through. It can be interesting.
I'm going to go pull up to Starbucks and say, hey, can I get a Venti Dragon Fresco? That's literally a dragon that's located here. Fun time. You can also come across I don't know if he's petrified or what, but an adult black dragon who you can wake back up again. He materializes in the middle of the room, and you can get the fuck out of his way. If you don't, he probably kills you, or he just goes out of there and shows up again later.
He's a big boy.
Trying to tax a city again.
This is
Two
level,
dragons.
This is level 14.
14. So adult black dragon, maybe
it's a tough fight.
Able to do it.
It's a very tough fight.
See, when we were on the level 11 and 10 stuff, I was like, our game, we're still fighting like pipsqueaks and stuff. Are we just under built?
No, it's hard to put in, like, if you're doing a kind of a low magic kind of, or a complex building of stuff together. You know, it's tough to just have these big gigantic things in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. So
this got me scared, because I was like, I hope Ryan doesn't, because I don't know if we can handle these things at this level, man. No, what's going on?
You guys are built stronger than you think.
Probably. You almost kill us with every fight. But the dungeon is cool. You get to fight some nice stuff. Nintra, I think is her name.
Cool. She's got cool lair actions.
That's a person later on down the line. And her art's really cool looking too. Nintra is the lady that's in the book itself. But yeah, you kill her and you rid your curse marked self. Anybody else who's, covered in it as well. That's it.
Cool.
Did I even write anything about this one?
What, Alcazar's Appendix by Adam Lee, who's a game designer at WotC?
Yeah.
You didn't write anything?
This is the one that I was like...
Oh, you checked out of this one?
Why is there so much?
See, I love the overview. It starts off with a great overview to help you kind of figure out where things are going. There's a Dracolich named Zika Zakarishka. I don't know. Good luck pronouncing that one. There's a few options for quest hooks. Boom, I'm in. I'm engaged. That's what I'm talking about. But then there's another portal within a book. It's like the 4th, 5th one in this adventure, in this whole book. I don't know, something like that. And I don't like, so figuring out the portal, you have to decipher this section of it, and to decipher it, it just takes time. That's it. I wish there was it takes an hour. You have to study it for an hour. I wish there was a puzzle here. I mean, puzzles are hard to do in D&D, but I love giving my players physical stuff. So I love giving them, I don't know, this code that they have to try to decipher and figure out. That'd be super fun. I don't know, something more than just you sit with it for an hour and boom, you can understand it.
So let me, and like, if you buy some sort of thing and you don't read through it like I did, that's your own fault. But I read the important parts, so I get the structure of it. I know what you're trying to do. I know what goes on. And my thoughts were, Nether Scroll is cool as all hell.
The Nether Scroll, yeah, it's a very powerful thing. It's hard to make it work, but it could.
If you manage to, over 30 days, so that's 30
so it'd have to be some downtime.
8 hours per day, doing a check where you need to meet.
Which to me is WotC saying, we don't want players to do this, but you can if you have some downtime.
Yeah, so you study it for that long, and at the end of it, you do a DC 25 intelligence check. If you fail it, you take 16 D10 damage and probably die.
Now, would you say you could do 30 days not consecutively? You do one day, then you go adventuring, and then do another day?
Yeah, it doesn't say consecutively. It says it takes 30 days of concentrated study. Of course, if you yourself are a student, you can pick back on your studies where you left off.
Players can do this a little easier than I thought, but still, it's not super easy.
What happens is your intelligence increases by 2 to a maximum of 22. And once you gain this benefit, you can't do it again, of course. But you also gain advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects, as well as you get the golem. You get the golem as a...
Pretty much.
Yeah. Like, whoa. Bruh. That's cool. So the big bad is trying to get this away from you, basically. And it's a long adventure that I said was lacking an interesting story, but it has fun encounters, I guess. Is literally my note on it.
See, I said, there's a lot of, I could see why someone would check out of this, because there's a lot of background info.
Well, there's some cool stuff in the actual, and in Haroon with like the worm and
once you get into
things.
But there's a lot of scrolling. There's a lot of background info that you got to kind of figure out and learn and piece all together. There's some cool, NPCs you meet. I like the mystery. I like the interesting people you talk to. I love the encounters in the desert, the hands of the dead with these, things like grabbing you. Oh, it's so cool and juicy. And I would steal that and put it into my desert in my world. And then there's a section where the players are going into like this, I don't know if it's like a tomb. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there's a purple worm that resides in the area.
Yeah.
And you start walking through. If you're not quiet, things start. That's having the tension there. And I love there's a little cute moment that my boy Adam Lee writes in where he says, drop in the purple worm when the time is right. And then parentheses, the time is always right. So I'm down with the purple worm. I love this adventure. I don't know if I would use it as written exactly. But there's a lot of great things that you can take out of this one. This to me is the most easily malleable and added to any place. And if you have a desert in your world, there's lots of really cool stuff. Yeah, it's true. There's lots of reading. There's some cool stuff.
If this was given to me alone, I could get through it and probably like it. But I stand by my lacking an interesting story with fun encounters.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. The encounters are super cool. And I would take them out and put them into my world. I wish more things had Draco Liches in them because I think they're really cool. I think out of the box it's a cool adventure, but yeah, it's got some stuff.
Chwinga.
Bless you.
Chwinga.
You just watched the Big Bang Theory?
No, you like Chwinga? Tiny elemental spirits.
They exist all over Faerun. Did you know that?
That's literally the sentence that we just read. They're in here. That's fun. Right after, what's his? Let me try to. Zigzag Risha.
Yep.
That's him. All right. These last two guys, by guys, I mean the books, the mysteries themselves. They went, what are some of the coolest monsters that people don't get to use that much? Are they liches? Yes, we're using them.
I mean, you're not wrong, right? You're not wrong because the next one's Xanthoria. And I'm going to be honest. Well, first, it is written by Tony Winslow Burrell, who writes a lot of Adventures League stuff, I believe, if I understood what I looked at.
And it reeks of that.
But this is a monster of a adventure in to me a good way. Do you like it?
I think it's the best one in the entire book.
I would agree. I wrote in my notes. Now this is the one. This is the. I mean, it's level 16, so it's not going to be a walk in the park. I think the biggest praise I can give this, I'm going to try to boil it down to this one little sentence I'm going to say. The biggest praise I can give this is that there are 11 locations, and it doesn't feel like it. It feels like there's so much more going on here. It seems like there's so much action packed into each one of these locations. And that's the adventure, is basically these 11 places. And that's it.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like a typical kind of, it's almost like it's the dungeon of the Mad Mage, where each like layer is each layer of the dungeon is its own place. And these 11 locations all have something very cool going on. It's not just like, I walk into a room, there's a chest, boom, gold, ooh, spooky ghost, walk out, leave, that's it. There's a lot going on here, and I really love it.
Well, the author of this probably listened to our Demon Princes episode.
Probably, right? Huge fan of the podcast.
Huge fan of the podcast, because Zuckmoy, the fungi demon princess or whoever she is, or whatever she is.
Yeah.
One of the scariest, nastiest looking ones that is probably one of the most evil and wants to consume everything in a mushroom and fungi expanse is kind of the catalyst for all of this.
Yes.
And the domains for those people are very similar. They've got layers and effects that happen.
Oh.
It's just so good.
You remind me of, if you read through the book, then the number 222 is all over it. And I'm like, what does that mean?
It's the layer of hell.
Yeah.
That she's on.
The abyss.
The abyss.
But if you like, I love that, because it even says if the players have encountered abyssal things in the past, done research on the abyss, maybe even speak abyssal, they would know, or they get advantage possibly on a check to know that this isn't a layer of the abyss that has Zuckmoy and the ooze looking nasty ass, so Jubilex.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, I even within the books and their appearances, this is the only one that is destroyed, decrepit. It's covered in fungi. The pages are wet and bent. It's crazy. And I said, there's a plague that's going on. Basically, the plot hook is that there's an epic plague that's going on around everywhere. So you've got to deal with it. A wish spell cannot undo it. And I literally wrote, why though? And I mean,
because it's an adventure.
It's an adventure, basically. So there's a plot hook there.
You know what I would say why you can't? Because it's got some Zuckmoy Demon Prince stuff going on.
Yes, exactly. But all of that's great. It's wonderful, but that's not my favorite part of it.
Well, yeah. What's your favorite part?
So you've got an NPC in this.
Okay.
You've got Thunderwing, a little fairy, a little sprite,
right at the beginning, you see it.
She is not super capable, very emotional. She lost some of her friends when she entered into this area, this plane.
Yeah, it's her old home.
And immediately hits it off with the adventurers, even if they're kind of against her or they don't like her that much. She wants to get out or save her friends or something, right? And you keep going and you figure out that you're going up against a lich. And at that point, you probably know that liches have phylacteries and you can't really get rid of this plague until you find out what that is and kill it. And you go through these areas and you learn about what Zenthoria has done on her path to become a lich, the terrible experiments that has gone on, the things that you can find in these areas, just great little storytellings that your players can unveil on their own. JD's super interested in it.
Yeah, he's scared of this place.
And you eventually find out that she learned a way to break a rule of phylacteries.
Love it.
And that is to make her phylactery a living being. And hopefully at this point, this adventure has been going on for quite some time, and your players have gotten attached to Thunderwing at some point. And you come up to the fight with Zenthoria, this massive lichen lich, fungus-covered skeleton. She has an ability that makes her able to do layer actions, losing initiative ties. And it's just like, she's strong as all hell. And maybe you kill her, and you find out after the fight or during it, you realize that the only way to keep her from coming back is to have Thunderwing willingly kill herself, give up her life. Because Thunderwing, it's said in the beginning, and this kind of forebodes it, can't take damage or be hurt unless she wishes so. So sad. In the end, when you finally decide to try and convince her, the only ways that you can do it are promising to raise her friend from the dead, promising to complete Zenthoria's original mission to rid the forest of undead, or destroying Zenthoria's notes so that nobody else can do it. And if she decides to, which she can genuinely say no, turn invisible, and fuck off, and Xanthoria comes back, and it's like, holy shit.
We got a problem on our hands.
Or she kisses each of the players in the forehead and goes to the one she connected with the most to die in their hands. None of the other stories in this have...
It's emotional.
Stuff like that. I mean, you know, you can get sad for the characters in their events, like in... oh, God, man, what... There's others in the first one that we did where there's like mansions and shit, people getting turned into crazy mind-sucking monsters. But this one, it hits home.
Yeah. If the RP is done well here, it'll leave an impact on your players.
Yeah. And I mean, this might even be the last quest you have. Maybe you've had this plague going on for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, Xanthoria here very much could be a final boss. It'd be bad of the campaign.
Yeah. So
I love that it's a lich, that it's not a normal lich. This kind of fungal lich is delicious.
Liking liches, man. She's challenge 18.
Some Golgari stuff over here.
So many things. And I think, was it her or the previous mummy one that has a thing that doesn't allow people to enter her within a 10-foot radius?
That is this one. You talking about the anti-life thing?
Yeah, bruh.
Pretty sure it's this one.
Like, what?
Yes, the anti-life shell.
If you don't have like a long-range weapon or like a glaive or something, you can't hit her.
Yeah, so you gotta finish the... Because then she throws up this anti-life shell. It's like a video game section right here.
And you can prevent it from happening. Yeah. She has to suck the life out of a certain character.
Yes, so that immediately she casts the spell afterwards. It reminds me of like you're playing like an MMO or something, and you have a raid encounter, and this is you fight the boss before you fight the mobs of the boss as the boss is overdoing its thing. Because she sends like will-o-wisps are in here, some tree ants. It's just kind of stuff to deal with the players for a little bit while she finishes her grisly work, and then she can come back and fight the players. And I would say, you know, just out of for funness, if she's able to finish her work, give it like 5-6 rounds or something, and she's able to finish it, then she's stronger or something.
Oh boy.
So the players have to get there, figure out how to get through this anti-life shell and make stuff happen.
Yeah. It's great. So I think cohesively, this is the best written adventure, best executed one.
Tying it up at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Lee knocking it. Sorry, Tony Winslow Brill knocking it out of the park.
There you go. Thanks to Bill Benham and Christopher Perkins for editing these boys and developing them along with.
I was always really curious. It says written by somebody, then would say developed by. I don't really know what developing means.
Probably like balancing and like play testing.
Oh yeah, let's give the balancing to Christopher Perkins, who sends 20 ghouls at a party of like level 3. That's a great idea, Chris. Come on.
Meeting some non-combative ravens, and he went, I need some more combat. Here you go.
I love Christopher Perkins.
That's Candlekeep.
That's Candlekeep.
Wow.
Candlekeep Mysteries.
Did you see in the contributor bios?
Yeah, about those bios, I found that out after I did all this research that those existed.
Yeah, that's just the feeling that I was having right now.
I mean,
I appreciate your work.
A lot of the stuff doesn't say what they've worked on in the past.
That is
and that's
true.
really what I wanted to know is what they've done. It just kind of gives us a background, like, Bill Benham was in the U.S. Army and stuff. That's interesting, but I wanted to know what they've worked on. Because being a freelance kind of book, the book lives and dies on the experience of the writers that they bring to the table.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if they're going to continue the same trend with Ravenloft and have each domain maybe be written by a different person. There's enough people in the world that love D&D and are prolific writers so they could hire a bunch of dudes for 30 different domains. We'll see.
Program manager, project manager for any more freelance stuff with Woods of the Coast. Make some more cohesive project outlines so they can see each other's shit. I know it's tough to get everybody to meet a deadline so they can look over each other's homework.
Well, that's why stuff got slashed, because they wrote more than they had the room for, I guess. And someone said, it might have been Christopher Perkins, he said he was working on editing and they have to cut stuff out. Like, they don't know they have to cut stuff out until they they compile it all together in like InDesign or something. And then they find out, oh my God, this is way too much. And we need to just start slashing things.
Yeah. Project management put another quality check with the authors to adjust their own stuff. Just give a little more time.
Yeah.
Come on. So we did it.
Do you recommend this? Obviously not for players. Rough. We said that last episode. But if you're a DM, you want some adventures, do you pick this up?
It is not a must get.
I'd say you can find the same, if not better, on DM's Guild for half the cost.
Or free.
But at least half the cost, $5, $10. I mean, I'm going to toss out that Darkhold Secrets of Zentarum book that I mentioned earlier. That's on DM's Guild, and it is fantastic. It is a full campaign, though, so there's a lot going on to it. There's another one I can't remember the name of, but it's like a plague. I'd have to look it up, but it's a very cool plague that takes you from like level 1 to level 6. Very well done.
So, yeah, I don't think under any circumstance you would need this unless you meet the following criteria. You're a D&D Beyond purist, and you like official content, and you want more examples of quests.
Or it's tough to be this person in COVID times, but maybe you just run a bunch of games at your local games shop. You need some more drag and drop adventures.
One shots, yeah.
Everyone that goes to local game stores probably knows the Forgotten Realms stuff, knows Baldur's Gate, and these Candlekeep places. So could be a hit with that audience as well.
Yep. You should not feel like you have to buy this, though, if you listen to this whole podcast and we're looking for an answer there.
Unfortunately, unlike with Curse of Strahd and stuff that have, granted, those are full campaigns, but there are monsters and magic items from Curse of Strahd that I love. I don't think there's particularly any in here that I think, you gotta get this. You need this item. You need this monster. Yeah. They're very much tied to the adventure itself.
It's not even an appendix. Oh, that's why there's a beholder on the alt cover.
Because of the guy with Quill.
Yeah.
Cute.
Oh, I like that. They also did a special thanks to their hundreds of playtesters, and that makes me think, like, really?
I mean, even still, with hundreds of playtesters, it's still very hard to
balance stuff. It's D&D. It's.
I think you need more than 100, but that's asking too much of WotC to drag it. I mean, look at MTG, look at Magic. They do playtesting there, and they screw up the balance all the time.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, taking Monster Hunter as an example, if you had me playtest World and try to come up with changes to create Rise, I'd be like, World's great. You don't need to change anything. And then they did Rise, and I'm like, holy shit.
I know, they stripped out all the stuff that I didn't like.
And it's like, oh my God, the game is so streamlined. And, I'm just not the type of person that's that great at altering stuff. So I wouldn't be a good playtester. I'd be like, yeah, it's good. Or, it's bad. Why? I don't know.
Yeah, that's just, everyone's always like, man, the dream is to be a QA tester. I don't think so. That seems like a miserable job.
You don't get paid at all.
That seems like you're playing the same game for like 8 hours a day. That seems like I'd want to take my hair and rip it out.
You hate early access
put it into
shit,
a blender
and
blend it up, and then drink my hair. And I don't think I want to do that.
That's graphic.
Sorry. I kept going. I didn't know how to stop.
You know what's not graphic?
What, man?
Our social media. If you want to talk to us on Twitter and Instagram, where we don't post controversial content ever, unless you want that, we can change it.
Yeah, we could do some controversial D&D opinions. Maybe that'll get some traction.
Yeah, Candlekeep sucks. Don't buy it. Actually, I don't know. If you guys have those opinions, reach out to us at Dungeon Crawl Pod on Twitter and Instagram. If you are looking forward to maybe some emails, a little correspondence, become writing pen pals, you can go to thedungeoncrawlpod@gmail.com. In the description, we have links to all of our doobly thingy boys and Twitters and whatever and YouTube channels.
Linktree.
Live play, the Linktree, the Dungeon Chronicles, of which we are on episode 5. Episode 6 comes out this week. Look forward to it. We have an improvement in audio quality. It's really fun to listen to, and I'm very proud of it. We have a Discord as well, if you want to come in and join the live conversation there.
Where can you watch the Dungeon Chronicles live?
Yes. You can do that on twitch.tv/Melasior, MELACIOUR, but eventually,
probably next week, maybe we'll do one more episode or 2 more episodes, and then we'll move it over.
Yeah, so maybe in a week from whenever this podcast came out or so, it's going to be
in a week
the
after
Dungeon Crawl Network.
Nope. Well, yeah, but next week it'll still be on Melasier, but then probably the episode after that. So in 3 weeks, you can find us on the Dungeon Crawl Network, twitch.tv/ the Dungeon Crawl Network.
But if you are ever confused and you don't know what we just said, when in doubt, go on Google and do the Dungeon Crawl Podcast. and I found out that does the job, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, I'm sad. I don't think it might take a long time. Maybe eventually we'll. No, I'm just thinking maybe eventually we'll beat that stupid Snack World dungeon crawl game that if you type in the dungeon crawl, that's what comes up, and it's so sad to see. Because I'd never heard of that game until we were looking at our stuff. But hopefully someday we'll get big enough that Nintendo just gets screwed out of any hits on that.
Hey, Nintendo, if you want to sponsor us, get that rolling.
That'd be cool. Give me Monster Hunter for free.
Monster Hunter for free. Dude, I'm about to buy it for you because it's so good. They made the insect glaive the weapon
the bow looks
of that
cool
game
too, man. That looks awesome.
Oh my gosh. The insect glaive is literally the weapon that says, I hate how Monster Hunter feels and I don't want to play it.
The movement in that game, oof, it's looking good.
Yeah. Yes.
But you know what else is good? Our segues like this one. Thunderwing. By the way, Thunderwing, her last words to me before Braxton plucked out her wings and stabbed her in the face.
What?
That's what you did. You had to. She was a phylactery, man. You had to do it. And I understand, but it was sad. You know what her last words to us were, everybody? She said, make sure you go over to Apple Podcasts and rate the Dungeon Chronicles and the Dungeon Crawl 5 stars. Type in Thunderwing sent me here. I love you. Something like that. Man, I can't imagine where she's at right now. Just wishing she could rate us 5 stars. She never had the chance to. She said, that's my favorite podcast growing up. I listened to it all the time with my friends. Now they're all dead and I'm dead. I'll never get to listen to it again.
I'm sad.
It's sad, man. But it's that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And you can save Thunderwings out there by rating us 5 stars. That's all I'm saying.
That is all he's saying. And all I'm saying is he's been Ryan.
He's been Braxton. Thanks for listening to us for 2 hours, two separate episodes.
Very true. I hope you enjoyed it. We've been the Dungeon Crawl. Thank you, as always, for calling with us.
We'll see you next week for something fun and interesting.
Where I don't have to read for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe not. It's kind of fun to do.
It's kind of fun that every couple months we have a big D&D release that we can dissect and look at. But it's nice that it's not like every day.
We've got another one coming up soonish. So
how soon is it? It's like 2 months, right? A month and a half.
Where is it? Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft.
But that one's
comes out May 18th. So we got 2 months.
Fun. I don't think there's any adventures in there.
My mom's birthday.
Aw.
I think I've said that before. All right, get out of here. Go home.